Hey everybody, I'm Jalen.
And I'm Cacie.
And you're watching the Summer of Jalen and Cacie, the final week.
The final week.
Getting started, kicking this off. So go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. And tune in all throughout this week because it's the final week and we got some great topics. See some of the best for last. Now, today's topic is we find to be one of the most important that we enjoy talking about the most, and that is communication. It was the biggest struggle. I'll probably say that was the biggest struggle we had at the beginning of our marriage. And even once we figured out how to fix it, whenever we have any issues, it's always that. Like, it always comes back to communication. Anytime there's a breakdown in our marriage at any issue, whether it's finances, whether it's intimacy, whether it's raising our son, anything at all that we could have any sort of breakdown, it's going to come back to our communication, or we've had a lack of it. If we're just not getting along, it's because of that. It's a lack of communication. One thing I want to say about this topic, because I want to make this very clear, because whenever we tend to post like shorts and things like that on Instagram, things like that, I get comments from people like, well, I've tried that, or it doesn't seem to work, or, well, I would do that, but my spouse responds this way. Let me make it very clear something about communication. If you are communicating, or you're trying to figure out a way to communicate that always gets a good or positive response from your spouse, or that always ends well, you're living in a fantasy. Even when you learn how to properly communicate, the conversations aren't always going to go happy. They aren't always going to go well in that sense. You cannot control the response of your spouse. You can't dictate their emotions. There is no secret magic spell to say all the right words so perfectly that your spouse is always going to receive it like, oh, okay, I get it. No, there are conversations you're going to have that are going to end in tears, that may end in raised voices, that may end with y'all not wanting to talk to each other for the rest of the night, having to walk away and then come back later. If you think that perfect communication or good communication means that you never have any conflict or any friction, then I want to let you know that what you're trying to achieve is a fantasy and is not real. It's not even promised in God's word. Matter of fact, conflict is a part of development. You see, you are two people and iron sharpens iron, but that's not always a smooth process. There is friction that naturally happens in marriage as you both are developing and maturing. And if you both are growing as people, then that friction is going to happen and it's going to be necessary as you rub off those rough edges. So I want to make it very clear right now that good communication doesn't always mean fun communication.
No, I mean, and most times it's not. You know, and just to be fully transparent, and my husband probably like, why are you bringing this up?
I was expecting you to, and that's why I started where I started, because it's real.
we literally are in the middle of a communication issue.
Yep.
And I mean, really a communication issue. I don't know if you guys, some of you new family and friends may not have heard us say this before, but we've always said this on this channel, is that we teach from a position of have gone through things and going through. So we are still a work in progress, you guys. And so we're having an intense conversation. We're not arguing. We don't argue with each other, but we have an intense conversation trying to come to understanding.
Yeah.
And, we both have different ways how we process information and how we process our emotions, how we process everything. And the one thing I want to make mention is that communication is always the first place going to be attacked, or I would say communication is always changing because there's so many layers to life. And the longer you're together, you're going to be adding new layers, and there's a lot of variables in marriage.
Yeah.
There are some consistent things, but, you add a new variable to something, things will sway a little bit. It will shift a little bit, so you have to adjust how you execute things. So this means we have to sit down at the table again and come up with another plan, communicate it, and talk about it. And you may not agree always on how those things are executed.
And I want to say this because you made a good point about things shift and change. I think when people get to know each other and they're dating or whatever and leading to getting married, they figure out whether or not they're compatible or they get along based on how they deal with each other in the happiest moment of their lives. The endorphins are running. We're getting to know each other. We're in love.
Learn somebody.
And so when you're talking to someone about we just talk so well, we just connect and we get along and we communicate so well. Well, of course you do. Y'all are both high on endorphins and falling in love, and nothing's wrong right now. Okay, so your communication is great when you're in a field of flowers. What about when there's a thunderstorm and you're on top of a mountain and lightning is striking everywhere? What about when your ship has wrecked and you're on a raft in the middle of the sea? What about when you're on the edge of a volcano? All these scenarios I'm giving is marriage. That's what happens.
Because
you have ups and downs.
You don't know how each other's going to respond under different stresses. Some people are very calm, collect. Some people are very tactical in nature and they're always trying to fix everything. And some people are just, you don't bother them, and, we had different personalities depending on what the scenario may be. My husband is a problem solver. He likes to expedite things and he likes to just bulldoze through the problem. And I am more of an analyzer. Like, I want to get down to the root of the problem. That's like the emotional side of it, more on a psychology level type. Less back. That's what I want to do. And sometimes I need to sit with it for a while and process it and mutter over it. And he doesn't really get that. It's not really his style. So learning how to make room for each other's way of processing, that's a lot of times where you get the conflict of communication breakdown. Because depending on who you are, you may assume that your spouse doesn't care. They're mean, they're brash, or they just don't care. All those things can come as a temptation to you to believe about your spouse. But that's why you have, and the conversation that we had right before we hit live is one that we've had multiple times. Okay? So you may have to have the same conversation over and over and over again. And each time you talk about it, you will get new revelation.
You get a new layer.
A new layer of revelation about the solution. And at some point, you will get a solution, and it will be one of the things that you can check off your list as, okay, we've mastered that. And that's the whole thing about learning how to master your marriage. You're not going to get this overnight. Some things may come quicker than other things, depending on what it is. So we have a whole list of things that, this is how we handle finances, how we handle this, this is how we handle that. But this is one little thing right here that we're working on right now. We still are adding layers to the process until we get to the total solution, and we be able to check this off the list. We're still in love, guys. Don't worry about it.
Well, let me reframe that, because you mentioned how being a work in progress and everything. But you got to understand is that what we're talking about, going through those rough spots communication, is just the life of marriage. There is no other side of it. And I don't want to bring a downer on anybody, but you got to understand, because I think sometimes people feel like, well, we just disagree all the time. And it's like, well, you're going to do that until y'all learn to come to agreement. But you have to also understand that that's just a part of life. And so the people who are very successful in marriage are not the people who never disagree, but they learn how to disagree agreeably. People who learn how to respect their spouse. And this is very important, because what we all do by nature, let me give you an example. My son, he's a toddler, okay? So he gets a free pass on this. But he is very self-centered. Any baby that's born on this earth is self-centered. At a certain point, before their brains fully develop, they don't even grasp that other people are people. They see everything as objects.
They don't have empathy.
And so they'll run up on another toddler and snatch them out their hands because they want it. And they're not being mean. Listen very close to what I'm saying. They're not being mean. They're just taking what they want, and they don't even grasp that they are hurting someone else's feelings. So it's not even like, oh, you're bad. It's just they don't even get it. It's like to be trained and taught to get it. Okay? So now I want you to take that example of how children are and then apply that to every human being on this planet, including yourself, because we are all like that. We see the world through our lens and our perspective alone. And we are so convinced of our perspective. And just like toddlers, we don't grasp that there are other people who think differently from us and who feel differently from us, that when something happens, we immediately, it's the reason why when someone cuts you off on the road, you get angry, start yelling at them. Why? Because your perspective is they did it on purpose or they were not paying attention. There's also 12 billion other reasons of why that could have happened. But you zero in on the one or two that you are convinced it is from your perspective. You never met this person, you never talked to them, and you never will talk to them. But you respond to them based off of your perspective without even grasping the idea, the remote infinite possibilities of this universe that something else could have happened that has nothing to do with you. because naturally we're all self-centered.
Yeah.
And so you get married to someone and you've got 20, maybe 30 years of experiences. And what you do is you go into marriage with this other person who has their own set of experiences, has nothing to do with yours. And so when they respond to what you say or do something differently from you, you immediately decide this is why they're doing it. And when you go into communication with them, you tell them about themselves and say, well, this is why you're just being this, you're just being that. That will always shut down communication immediately. And so you have to learn and make a conscious decision, a choice to not be self-centered and to lose your self-centered perspective. And in your communication, your goal should be to try to understand their perspective. It doesn't mean their perspective is correct. It doesn't mean they're always right. But it does mean that their perspective is valid because they're a human being and it is theirs.
Yeah, because it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, how a person was raised, their background, what they've been through, all those things shape a person's perspective and how they approach life.
Yeah.
So that's their truth at this time. Now, their truth may be not the truth.
Yes.
Okay, but that's their truth for now, and that's what they're holding on to. So you trying to beat them down, that's the incorrect way. You're not going to make any progress that way, and they're going to just and now you're becoming part of their truth now. Okay, and you're continuing to prove themselves. You're proving to them that they're right.
Yeah.
So learning how to effectively communicate with one another is very essential, and it takes practice. Knowing how to communicate does not mean that, or knowing how to communicate well does not mean that you have a good vocabulary. My husband knows a lot of words, and he's pretty decent vocabulary, and he can say some of these words. I'm like, where did this word come from? Like, I need a dictionary sometimes to understand what he's saying. Okay, but that doesn't mean that he's a master communicating. You know.
I definitely wasn't. My God, no.
You know, and sometimes, depending on who you are, that could be condescending. Sometimes, sometimes you gotta learn to. I'm not saying you gotta be unintelligent and never talk down to a person. Okay, but the only example I can say is, you know, I worked behind the chair. I was a stylist for almost 20 years, and I have dealt with a lot of personalities. Like, some days I would come home and feel like a schizophrenic because I would go from one extreme to the next. Like, I have clients that were super chill, super quiet, didn't want anything, and I could not read their expression. It would freak me out. Okay, and then I would have the real home girl, whatever, and I found myself kind of going to different modes to communicate with them. I had to learn how to adapt to that person in order to understand them and so they can understand me. Now, I know my stuff. I know the science behind hair. I know all this stuff. And I can remember when I first started doing hair, I wanted people to understand that I am an educator and I know my business. I would use all these technical jargon and stuff, and people look at me like, oh, you could have just told me my ends need to be trimmed, or you could have just said that. And it would bother me when they would kind of do that. They were like, oh, you should have just said it that way. Sometimes you don't need to let people know just how smart you are or how many words you know, because that can be condescending and you putting up a wall, and before you know, nobody wants to deal with you because you put up this air like I have it all together when you really don't. Yep. So you know what? I learned how to communicate the same knowledge that I have in a way that was palatable and that they could understand. Because the objective for me was that my client was educated. Yep. And that they understood the process so they could trust me.
So it was very important what you said there. There's two things I want to say. You made two good points. But one of them was that I want to build on what you just said was, and it's this: words are a tool that you can use to build up or destroy. And you can break someone down with your words, or you can build them up. Yeah. So in marriage, obviously, the effort should always be in every conversation to build up. And that sounds easy to say, but I want you to think about all the conversations you have with your spouse and how many times you were trying to hurt them, damage them, belittle them, trying to get back for yourself because you felt they did the same to you. And you realize, wow, I've been using my words as a weapon. All right. And then the other thing that I want to scoot back on what you were talking about, the whole truth thing. So that's the thing. Those perspectives I was talking about, you develop that into a truth about how the world works and how people work. So one thing I want to make clear, if you're watching this and trying to take notes on, well, how can I fix this communication with my spouse? The only reason this works, the only reason we're able to make this work is because we both submit to the absolute truth, which is the Word of God. And so, although we do have our perspectives, we're ever changing and ever growing as individuals and changing our perspective to match the truth of the word of God. We don't accept as valid any truth but that truth. That is the word. And so when we bump up our perspective against the word and we're left with an imbalance, then we're going to defer to the word. And that is why we're able to always to come to agreement, because at the end of the day, we're trying to come in agreement to the word of God. And everything that the word says is true, including how you're supposed to handle each other in marriage. So even on our worst days where we're angry and all of that, eventually we magnetize right back to the way the word says to handle things. And that's why we get along. So if you're wondering why you can't get this to work with your spouse, find out if the word is even the foundation of your marriage. Because if it's not, then y'all have got no guiding posts and y'all are just trying to create a doctrine for your marriage based on two different perspectives. But it's got to be one rule, one law, one constitution that you're ruled by in your marriage. That's got to be the word. When using words to build or to break down, and you're talking about, with your clients and everything, think about customer service. You like the people that cater to you. And that's the store you keep coming back to. That's the place you keep buying your food from. They make you feel good about yourself. You can be having a bad day, but when you come into their drive-through line, the way that they talk to you, if it's good, makes you want to come back for more.
You know who we talking about.
Chick-fil-A. And it's good. And then there's other places you be having a good day. When you come to their drive-through, you're frustrated, you're angry, you're mad. Not only to get the order wrong, but the way they talk to you, they talk down to you, they use short words, and it's just like, it just makes you angry. It frustrates you. So next time you talk to your spouse, try acting like you're trying to give them some customer service. You're trying to get them to come back for more. You want them to come and talk to you some more. Part of the reason you get bad communication with your spouse is because y'all don't like talking to each other. Y'all avoid each other. Y'all do not want to talk to each other. Whatever area that y'all don't want to talk about, we used to struggle with talking about finances. And so we did not like talking about it. We just didn't. When it came up, when there was a problem, even though it needed to be addressed, me personally, I would try to avoid it for as long as I possibly could, because I knew it was going to be a tense discussion.
Yeah, because we had two different ways of how we wanted to handle the money, or how, because of how we both dealt with money growing up or being adults, we had our own way of handling money. And, so it was very hard for us to get over that hump. Finally, we did, praise God, and we were on the same page. We don't struggle with that anymore. But yeah, that was a very difficult conversation to have, was about finances, and it was so frustrating a lot of times. But we weathered through that one. But it's a point I was wanting to make. But really understanding your spouse and how they process really makes a difference. We recently, I guess in the last year or so, discovered some things about how we process, and it was amazing. It unlocked a lot of reasons why we respond the way we respond about certain things, and it brought freedom to our relationship. And so I would definitely say that it takes practice. When we worked with couples before in the past, we gave them practical things to do that would help them unlock their communication. And one of those things is setting a scheduled time to talk. Okay? When you're not good at communicating with one another, if you're a couple that tend to, fight or get heated when you conversate about almost anything, this is where you need to have structure. It may seem very robotic at first, very uncomfortable at first, but you have to set some ground rules, and you have to do this. So we had our couples to set aside a certain amount of time, 20 minutes. Don't go over 20 minutes. And we're going to talk to one another. Not about bills, not about the kids, not about work, but about just talk about whatever, flowers, whatever, baking a cake, whatever the case may be. And just out of that repetition of doing that over and over again, it's like stuff begins to just open up. You get more comfortable and relaxed. And once 20 minutes over, you go your separate ways, you journal, and then you come back the next day and you do it again. And find that agreeable time that we're going to sit down and do this, because you'd be surprised, we talk at each other. Coming and going, but we never really sit face to face and talk to each other. We don't even know our spouses a lot of times after we get married, because we get so busy with life, pursuing whatever, and we don't really know your spouse. So set a time where you sit and you just conversate and you talk about other things other than the stresses of your life. because you got to get on the same team. Like, you got to, sometimes we've had long days, long weeks, we would sit in our bed and just play Uno. And out of that, we just have fun. You know what I mean? But that's us communicating. Because everything can't be about the bills and the kids and the job. Like, everything can't be about that. And then when we need to talk about those things, and that's all we talk about, there's always going to be a fight.
Yeah.
All the time.
But you can trust to talk about the hard stuff when you trust each other.
Exactly.
That you're on the same side because you've built up good communication and good intimacy before that. So when it's time to talk about something difficult, you trust. Because even though, like we said right before we turn this on, we're having a discussion, we're cool to just sit here and talk to you guys and not hate each other. And we're not going to turn off the camera and then be angry and go our separate ways because we get it. Like, it happens. It's life. We know we're going to talk this out and figure it out, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's next week. And we can actually, we're pretty practiced at this now that we can put a pause on the conversation that we know we're not going to get a breakthrough and then just go about doing something else. We can watch TV together. We can give each other massages. We can play Uno. We can do whatever because we know already that we're on the same team.
Yeah, you got to know your breaking point.
Yeah.
Like, you got to know. Like, to be honest with you guys, this whole month has been full.
Oh, yeah.
We've been doing this lives every night. But we still got, he has 9 to 5. I got JJ all day. We got other businesses that we're running. We're doing a lot. So we've been under a lot of stress.
You got a 5 to 9. I think about JJ. You got a 5 to 9.
I do a 5 to 9. I do.
Oh, sorry, continue.
But I mean, it's been a lot. So, you know, I come up here, no makeup on, I look tired. If I look tired, because I am tired.
Oh, yeah.
I am legitimately tired, okay? So we realize this is not the time to be talking about a whole lot of heavy stuff.
You got to know timing.
Okay? You got to know timing. Like, just don't do it. Give your spouse the opportunity to de-stress or whatever you need to do. And like I said, that's why it's important to kind of have those set-aside times where we're going to talk about the important stuff. Like, sometimes he'll call me and say, okay, we need to talk about the finances, so let's talk about it on Saturday, such and such time. You know, you got to set an appointment.
Yeah, don't just fly by, like, end of the night, you know you're frustrated, and then let's just drop this heavy. Like, nah, man. Like, you got to be smarter than that.
That way, both of you can prepare your mind. You know, you come to the table talking about the hard stuff, and you can be clear-headed. And you can have your points together, and, you know. And again, the idea, the objective is to have understanding and come to a place of agreement. So if that's both of your goals, then you won't be punching each other in the face all the time and you know, dirty blows and stuff. You know, we're here to come to an agreement.
Yeah, and again, this only works if y'all have an understanding of the goal and the purpose of y'all relationship. Because at the end of the day, the reason why it's not, neither of us is willing to accept just being mad at each other for any length of time and just not getting along is because there's a greater purpose and destiny for our relationship that goes beyond just our personal feelings. So even when we're in our feelings for 30 minutes, it's not going to go much longer than that because we know there's something bigger than ourselves that we're handling. And
I think that's really the core key to communication or the desire to have great communication is having that purpose and goal for your marriage and know what that is. Unfortunately, a lot of couples don't have a purpose or an aim for their relationship. So it's que sera, whatever will be, whatever comes, you know, no real focus at all. So for us, it's not an option for us to be at odds with one another for long periods of time. It's not an option for us because we have a very, very specific goal for our marriage. We honor God with our marriage. We honor God individually. We're tithers and givers. We don't want anything blocking the blessing of God from our lives. We always want to be in a position where we can hear from God, and we know that God won't forgive you if you can't forgive each other. Okay, that's what the word said. You don't believe me? Look it up. It's in there. Like I said, we don't want to block the blessing of God for being in strife and discord, because God doesn't honor that. So for us, that's a big deal. We want the protection of God. There's a lot of dangerous stuff out there in the world. I don't want to leave this house mad and bitter with my spouse, not knowing what's out there, and open myself up to calamity because I got to be right, or I got to have my way, or I just refuse to forgive. It's not worth it, okay? Because life is like that. And I would hate for anything to happen, God forbid, knowing that I just chewed my spouse out.
Yep.
You know, I wouldn't want that. So for us, that's a big, big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not comfortable even being mad for a long period of time.
Yeah.
It's not a comfortable spot.
I've tried to be like selfish, childish, petulant, and just hold on to something for a period of time, and I can't even make it half a day, if that. Like, I tried it, and I get mad at myself because I want to hold on to it, like try to get back from myself because I feel like I'm right. But it's just so not worth it. I can't even bring myself to try to pretend to be that kind of person. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And one last thing I want to make sure that you walk away with is this. However long you've been married to your spouse, you don't know them fully yet.
No.
Not only do they just change over time as you're married, every year there's someone new. Never assume you just got them figured out. Because then you begin to lose respect for them. As much as I love Cacie, as much as I know about her and know of her and just know her intimately, I don't know her completely yet. I don't know every thought in her head. I don't know her every perspective and her every feeling. And it's my goal to understand her better. So even when we disagree, when I'm in conversation with her and we're in disagreement, my goal is not to just try to get her to see my perspective. I truly want to understand what she's thinking and what she's feeling. And sometimes I got to present what I think I see, and then she's got to tell me, no, that's not it. It's this. And I listen, and then I believe her. And then I adapt what it is I've learned about her and keep that a part of how I deal with her. Because I love her, I'm constantly pursuing and trying to discover more about her and who she really is. And so long as you keep that pursuit and never just assume you've got them all figured out, that's going to greatly help your communication. Again, good communication is not we always get along and we just agree on everything immediately. That's not real. It does not happen. It does not happen. Even Jesus in Gethsemane didn't agree with God. He said, if there's any way this can pass from me, let it pass from me. But then he said, not my will, but your will be done. So Jesus had his own will. The Father had a will. And Jesus decided, I'm going to surrender my will to go with your will.
But I want you to hear this one part, though, in that is that they both had the same goal.
Exactly.
Him and the Father had the same goal.
Yep.
Okay, and that was to redeem man. He was wondering if there was another way to do it. Exactly. Because the cross was going to be hard. And hard is not even the right word to say. But it was going to be a very difficult path. And he was wondering if there was another way. But my goal is still to redeem man. Okay, but then he said, Lord, I surrender to your way. And in marriage, a lot of times you need to surrender to your spouse's way.
Exactly.
And it's
honest. Say that one again. That's true.
Sometimes you need to surrender to your spouse's way, whether it's the wife or the husband's way, because to get the goal met, to meet the mark, is worth surrendering to whatever side is the way it needs to be done.
And I want to listen very closely to that. Because especially today's society, we have a real problem with that concept. Yeah. But I'm not talking about just, well, we just do what you want to do. Always do it your way. I hate people say that. It's like, at that point, just shut up. You're not even trying. I want you to, next time y'all disagreeing on something, and I'm not talking about like someone wants to jump off a cliff and you want to stay on it. Like, let's not, people really get like, what if, calm down for a second. Listen to what I'm saying. The next time y'all in a discussion about something, and it's not a life-threatening thing, it's a matter of perspective. They want to do it this way, they want to do it that way. Try surrendering to their point of view. Just try it. Just try it. It's not going to break the world. It's not going to destroy anything. It's just try it your way. Don't punish them for it. Don't say something to make it where it's like, well, I really want to do it this way, but we just going to let you do it. No, don't do that. Gracefully surrender and say, okay, I see what you're saying. Let's do that. Let us do that. Not you go do that. Let us do that. And surrender to their way. And you'll learn something about yourself and about them because you'll see them from a different perspective if you let them take the lead on a decision once. And if it doesn't work out, don't punish them for it. Don't attack them for it. Don't make them feel small. Just say, it's okay. We made this decision. We'll try again. Let's try it another way.
Because it is a we decision. You're in the same team, and you gotta keep that in mind. You're the team. Yep. It's no I in team. So cliche, but there is no I in team. It is us. We made this choice. We decided on that. We came to this. We doing it. So if it doesn't work out, okay, we gonna come to the table and we gonna try again.
You got to make a move. You're playing sports. You're drawing up plays. There's multiple options of how you can try to figure this out. Which play to get the ball to the basket. You got to pick one, okay? And sometimes the one you pick don't work. That also doesn't mean that the other way was necessarily going to work either. We'll never be able to go back in time and see, but maybe that wouldn't have worked either. Maybe neither way would have worked.
Because it's so many variables. If you use an example of a basketball team, you really don't know what the other team is going to do. Because they're doing the same thing you're doing, trying to plan, trying to, figure out defense and everything. So you don't really know what's going to happen. So your plan may not work because there's other variables out there that's coming against your plan. And sometimes you're not quick enough to adjust in the middle of the game to make stuff happen. It's a lot of things we can say about this, but I believe we made our point, is that you're on a team, okay? The objective is to have understanding. Don't quit the conversation because you don't get it the first time. You may have to come back and talk it over again and get more revelation on that. But the point is, you got to give grace. You got to be level-headed about this and not try to have your way. You don't have to have your way, because the moment you come into this saying it's my way or the highway, you've already lost.
Be married.
You've already lost, and you headed for disaster.
Headed for disaster. So hopefully that was helpful to everybody.
It's helpful to me.
Yeah, me too.
I guess we need it.
Yeah, no. But I mean, you see how this pours out of us? Like, this isn't fake. And that's what you got to realize. Like, the world of Instagram and social media and all that, you got a lot of people smiling and they show you the selfies and everyone's good. They're going on vacation, drinking Mai Tais. Everybody looks happy and great. And then tomorrow, we have to go our separate ways, irreconcilable differences. It's just, you wouldn't understand. You don't know what's going behind the scenes. It's like, why didn't you show me what's going behind the scenes? Exactly. Show me everything else. Why didn't you show me? Now, I do believe in privacy. I do believe in protecting your spouse and not just airing your dirty laundry. There's another extreme to that. Okay, but one thing you've got to be very cautious of is that you don't ever look at what someone is doing and think it's a picture of perfection. And anyone who's properly actually teaching relationship principles, they're going to tell you the truth about the fact that it's not all roses every day. And it's not all roses every day because it's impossible for it to be roses every day, because on planet Earth, there are different types of plants. There are roses and there are weeds. I'm trying to make this the reality for you.
And roses die, they bloom, and they die, they bloom, and it's a cycle.
I'm saying, like, this is just real life. If you're chasing this flawlessness, it is just not real. I'm not trying to lower your standard. I'm trying to help you understand that it's part of the journey. And you should almost look forward to it because it's part of the challenge. And you grow from that challenge. You would not grow if you didn't have to go through the weeds, if you didn't confront the mountains and the fires. It's a part of it. And so when you say I do at the altar, you're not just saying I do to great feelings and makeout sessions. You're saying I do to fighting wars and winning them together. Yep. So look forward to the wars too. Just remember, you're not on opposite sides. Exactly. The war isn't you here and your spouse here. The war is you here and here. And y'all may have a very heated disagreement about how to attack the enemy, but let it be because you're both passionate about winning, not because you hate each other. Exactly. At the end of the day, though, you got to draw up a plan and you got to go with it. And hopefully the Spirit of God is the one guiding you both. So that's what y'all can come in agreement on. He can guide you to that perfection. So hopefully that helps you today, how to improve your communication. So yeah, praise God.
Ooh, we're down to the last week.
Last week here.
Y'all better tune in, share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yep.
We want to shout out again our
channel members, Jeremy Dixon and Lindy Moyo. Thank you so much for supporting this channel.
Vision bearers, and y'all just don't understand what that is going to do for us in the future and helping us reach the masses, millions of people with the message, the goodness of God through marriage and relationship, and so many other things that come. So if you want to be a channel member, go ahead and hit that join button. And
we're going to play a video here in a second to give you the full rundown on it. So
yeah, I'm trying to end this week with the promos. He's always doing that. He's a fast talker. But I'm gonna do it. So yeah, we really love you guys being here today, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Probably same time. We'll see. Stay tuned and we'll post about it. But yeah, but here, watch this video, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you guys. Hi, my friends. I'm Jalen.
And I'm Cacie.
And we're excited to introduce to you
channel memberships. So Jalen, what are channel memberships?
I'm glad you asked, Cacie. Channel memberships are something that YouTube designs for creators like us to give our fans an opportunity to support us financially so we can keep creating great content that you love. For us, though, it goes a little bit deeper than that. See, for us, you're not just our fans, you're our family friends. And for those of you who actually sign up to be channel members, we're gonna call you vision bearers. As you know, we have a very strong passion for what we teach here about marriage, relationships, and the blessing of God on your life, whether you're single, married, divorced, indifferent. And we have a vision of taking this all across the world to as many people as possible. And some of you have helped us do it with all of your shares, likes, comments, and everything else. But now there's a new level that's available to us. And we want to share that opportunity with you. We've created 3 tiers of monthly contributions so that it's accessible to everyone. You get perks for doing this. That's a way of us saying thank you for supporting us in this way. You're going to get access to a special badge so that when you leave comments on our channel, people know that, hey, you're one of those vision bearers. You get access to special custom emojis of our faces that you can leave as reactions to your favorite videos. There's going to be a special members only tab where we can communicate with y'all more intimately. It's going to be as close as you could get to probably being like in a group chat with us.
Or being our neighbor.
And then there'll be special behind the scenes vlogs and videos that only you guys see, as well as early access to the videos that we release on our channel.
Early access.
So if any of those perks sound like something you would like to enjoy, or if you are someone who's really passionate about this vision the same way that we are and want to be a part of spreading this gospel all over the world, then we encourage you to look into the channel memberships. You click the join button underneath any one of our videos, and it'll give you more details on the different tiers and the perks that you get with each tier and what it's going to take. For everyone that decides to sign up to be a vision bearer, that's huge. We appreciate you so much, no matter what tier you use. That means the world to us.
Hey, can you hear that? Members signing up.
Thank you for watching this video, and thank you in advance for being a vision bearer.